Welcome to the Shift Your Story, Change Your Life podcast. I'm Allie Rose, certified clinical hypnotherapist and subconscious success coach. I help my clients stop self-sabotage and feel safe to create more wealth, worth, and wellness from within. If you find yourself stuck repeating the same unhelpful patterns in your life, health, business, or relationships, even after all the mindset work, this podcast is for you. Each week, you'll hear deep dives into the hidden beliefs shaping your life and live hypno coaching sessions where someone shifts a block in real time. Because willpower isn't the problem, your subconscious story is. And when you shift it at the root, everything else begins to change. So let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to the Shift Your Story, Change Your Life podcast. This week, I get to share something a little different with you. Instead of me hosting or coaching, I was invited onto the Healthy Hustle podcast with my longtime friend, Rachel Feldman, who is a business mentor for health and wellness coaches. Rachel and I go way back almost 10 years, and this conversation really felt like it was coming full circle. We talk about the ways self-sabotage shows up in both life and business, why visibility feels so scary for so many of us, and what it really takes to feel safe being fully seen. It was one of those interviews where the layers get peeled back really quickly, and I'm so excited for you to hear it. All right, let's dive in. Self-sabotage shows up in probably every area of our life and our businesses, and I would say it's really based around core wounding that we have based on our childhood. But for some people, being seen whenever they were a child was dangerous to be seen.
All right, guys, growing your wellness business doesn't have to mean working around the clock and feeling exhausted. So, welcome to the Healthy Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Feldman, and I have been in your shoes. I've been in the wellness space for over 9 years, and I know what it feels like to feel overwhelmed. I took my wellness business from $13K that first year and feeling fried and exhausted to over 6 figures. Now I'm a business coach for health and wellness professionals just like you, and I create done-for-you content and programs to help you save time and money so you can spend more time nailing down your niche, understanding your buyer avatar, attracting your ideal client, and building your business from the ground up the right way. So sit down and let's get started. Hey guys, this is Rachel. I'm so excited for this episode. I was just saying before I hit record that this topic is my love language. So we're talking today about self-sabotage in business, and I have the amazing Allie Rose with me. Allie, how long have we known each other?
Oh my gosh.
10 years?
10 years, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah.
So I asked Allie to be here because she works with a lot of subconscious reprogramming, self-sabotage, all those kind of things that happen, and she helps her clients to rewire those thought patterns. So Allie, can you tell everyone a little about you beyond what I just shared?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, a subconscious success coach, and I was a traditionally trained talk therapist for many years before I got into subconscious work. And so now I help high achieving women stop self-sabotage, feel safe being seen, and then rewire their minds to regulate, receive, and rise into their next level of success.
I love that. It's stuff that I work on daily because I have a lot of those pre-programmed ideas about who I am. And so make sure, but I can see working with somebody like you would be amazing. Can you talk to me about where self-sabotage shows up in our life and our business? Because I think they're so closely related.
Absolutely. So self-sabotage shows up in probably every area of our life, and I would say, and our businesses. And I would say it's really based around core wounding that we have based on our childhood. So some people have absolutely no problem being seen. They love being in the spotlight as a child, but for some people, being seen whenever they were a child was dangerous to be seen. So it might show up as sabotaging yourself around being seen, never putting yourself out there, never being the face of your brand. It can also just show up in regular everyday things like procrastination or perfectionism or people
Yeah.
pleasing. Those are all forms of self sabotage because really what they do is they keep us away from what we really want.
Yes. Oh my God. You're hitting all those things that I have worked on my whole life. And I think each talk to me about how wounds appear. Because I think when everyone thinks about, they're like, oh, I didn't have any trauma, but they might have heard you say something and they were like, oh my God, but that's me, especially in my business. So, can you talk to me about those kind of things that can happen in our life, big things or small things?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take being a perfectionist, for example. So it's interesting because what, like you said, when I say wounding, people often think of like really big traumatic things happening. But what I see in perfectionists is that a lot of times they actually got praised all the time for being the high achiever, getting the best grades, right? That is what they got praised for. And so that in and of itself in some ways can be a wound because then are terrified of ever making a mistake because they
Yeah.
equate making a mistake with losing love or losing connection with people in their lives. And so often, like I said, people think of these big traumatic things, and sometimes it's not a big traumatic thing. It's the stories that we created from the ways that we were interacted with as a child.
I can totally identify with that. My dad always praised me, and I thought, like, that I had to look perfect. He loved. Unfortunately, my relationship with him is not that great, and we've worked to try to get to a different place, but it's like that wound is still there in me, and I have to, like, actively work on it to say, "You're loved, you're safe."
Yes.
Tell me about some ways that you work with your clients to unravel these wounds.
Yeah, so each person is obviously very different, and
Yeah.
so people will come in with different things. So I'm gonna just it's easier for me if I can think of a specific client that I've worked with. I won't say names, but I'm thinking about someone who is really struggling to charge for their products, their programs, their services. And really what came up was it was a self-worth. It was like believing that they were worthy and deserving of actually charging. They thought that being like they were a caretaker by nature. They had cared
Yeah.
for so many people in their life and in their family that the idea they took on that caretaker role. So the idea of charging, it didn't feel like it fit for them. And so, what we really do in my work with clients is we go to three different memories that are related to whatever someone wants to work on. And we start to look at what belief was formed and how is that showing up in your life now? And then we start to look at this part of you because every part of us believes that it's doing something good for us. So there was a part of her that was keeping her from actually putting like a price tag on her services or something that was actually sustainable because it felt like it was protecting her. And so
Yeah.
we have to really work with that part of her. And we do this all subconsciously to help it say, okay, you created this story when you were 5 years old that the only way to be safe was to be this caretaker, to be selfless and sacrifice. But guess what? You're now 35 years old. And so that story is no longer working for you. So let's upgrade you and let's upgrade your story to something new and something different and let's make it safe for you to start to charge for your services. So I hope that answers what you said. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's easier for me to do it in terms of a client case study.
And this is all done with hypnosis?
Yes. So this is all done in hypnosis. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's profound because I know for me, I was both. I was that caretaker and I had to take on that responsibility for my mother and my father.
Mhm.
And so I grew up with a lack of self-worth unless I was taking care of somebody, which is
Right.
ironic. I broke that with my husband. who's
Mm.
always, I've got it. I'm completely good. And I think that you feel like I need to be broken to be with me. And I was like, no, I don't. And then I was like, maybe he's got something that he's
Right.
actually right about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's really powerful, right? Whenever you have those kind of corrective
Yeah.
experiences with other people in your life where you're realizing I can be loved even if I'm not perfect, even if I'm not caretaking,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that, of course, corrects things for people as well.
Talk to me about visibility because I think when I see health coaches, they all are saying, I want more clients, I want more leads, but they're scared to show up. So talk about like how that fear of visibility, like what are some possible wounds that could have been happening for that person to have that fear?
So visibility is huge. It's something that I work with people a lot because it's not just about being seen, it's about being fully seen. Because
Yeah.
especially in the online space, you're putting yourself out there for you have no idea anyone in the world can see what you're posting. And so a lot of that can come from, again, like I said, maybe it wasn't safe to be seen, and that can look like maybe there was some sort of abuse, or that can look like maybe there was bullying, or even I've had people who have gone back to a specific memory where, like, they were doing a presentation in class and somebody, like, laughed at them a little bit when they were doing a presentation,
Yeah.
and that took root in their subconscious mind, and so now anytime that they start to put themselves out there, their subconscious remembers what that felt like and
Yeah.
says puts on the brakes and says, "No, we will not go through that painful experience again. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna tweak our website a little bit. We're just gonna create some more graphics in Canva, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna do anything and everything to make you feel like you're working on your visibility, except put yourself out there. Because if you put yourself out there, you could experience that pain again."
So how I know hypnosis is one thing, but I always love tangible tips. So if
Absolutely.
somebody's not working with you, what are ways to work on visibility?
Absolutely. I agree with you. And this is something that I do with all of my clients anyway. We do it in hypnosis, but people can do it outside of hypnosis, which is I want people to think about what is something in their life where they can feel that they keep running into the same block, whether it is charging, whether it is visibility. And so once you've named it, I want them to think about the smallest thing that they could do to take a step toward that goal. So that might be literally, if I'm thinking about charging, that might be doing like a dollar deal. Let's say that somebody's really
Yeah.
struggling to charge, do something small and charge a dollar for it. Just start helping your nervous system feel safe with taking the action. If it's visibility, right? So maybe you don't post publicly, but maybe you create a Facebook group where you handpick people to put into that group who you know are safe people, and you just commit to posting once a week in the group for
Yeah.
those specific people. And the reason why that works is because subconscious work is all about nervous system safety. It's about helping your system see that when I do this thing that you've typically been afraid of doing, that I'm actually safe to do it. And I'm going to
I'm
take the
not gonna die.
yes, I'm not going to
It
die and I'm
does feel like that when there's not safety. It
right.
feels so overwhelming.
Right. Yes. And so a lot of people try to jump out there and do like really big things. And that can work, I think, for a while. But I think it eventually fizzles out because it overwhelms our nervous systems and then they go
Yeah.
back to shutdown. So I often say to people, it's much better to just take smaller steps up the ladder until you feel safe, like putting yourself out there in a bigger way.
What are ways that I don't know your own life, but what are some ways that you've overcome or that you've rewired your brain? What are things that have worked for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about visibility, and that's part of my story is that and I feel very comfortable sharing this, is I grew up and my brother and I were the only Black people in an all-white town. And
Oh,
so
wow.
being seen didn't feel safe for me. And I don't necessarily know that I had the words or the language to put to that as a child, but really being seen, I know now as an adult, it didn't feel safe for me. And so that really impacted the way that I showed up online that really impacted public speaking. Doing something like this, I would have felt terrified. So I've had at least 3 hypnotherapy sessions myself on visibility and public speaking and being seen. And now I don't feel activated whenever I'm doing something like this. And you've known me for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I'd say, like, my visibility has definitely, over the last couple of years, amped up as I've done this work.
I love that. Talk to me about, because I think when we're talking about visibility, and then I want to get on some other topics as well, is what is sharing too much? I'm sure I love asking this question to people who are talking about visibility, because I think, just as you said, something gets put out there. When do you share your story in relation to getting your ideal client to actually understand where you've been?
So, in terms of what is too much to share,
Yeah.
yeah, I think what is too much to share is anything that is going to be really activating for anything that you don't have to be fully
Process.
healed, right? But
Process.
anything that you haven't processed, like, I often think about it in terms of, something that I often think about when I'm posting is, number 1, if I share this personal story, if one of my clients comes back to me and says, "Hey, so I saw you posted about X, Y, and Z on your Facebook or your Instagram," how would I feel about having that conversation with a client? Would I feel
Yeah.
okay having that conversation, or would I feel super activated by having that conversation? If I'm gonna feel super activated by it, I'm probably not gonna post it. So there's gotta be some level of processing that you've gone through where, if the worst case scenario happened where you get attacked, can you handle that? Or if somebody comes back to you and says, "Hey, I saw this," and they're questioning
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you hold space for that without completely shutting down, wanting to burn your business to the ground, and wanting to just hide in a hole for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think that's the hard thing about having conviction and your own point of view. It's that you have to take a chance and be willing that you're going to get some feedback.
Absolutely. There's always gonna be, and that's the thing. So I think about, again, certain things in my own life. My thoughts and beliefs around certain spiritual things have shifted over the years. And
Yeah.
I know that there are people who don't agree with me. But
Yeah.
I'm okay posting about it because I don't feel activated by their responses to that piece of my story. Whereas in the past, I would have felt like, if somebody challenged me on that I would have needed to scrub my socials clean of it, hide from
Go
it.
back and hide
Right. Right.
comments and delete them and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that we're talking about safety of nervous system a lot. What
Mhm.
are some things that a person can do on a daily basis to feel safe? Because when I think of so many health coaches, they've gone through traumatic things, whether it's chronic illness for a long time, whether it's abuse, whether it's being the child of an alcoholic or their own gut issues or hormone issues. How do we get back to a place of feeling safe?
Think that something that's so important is, like, remembering that the past is the past and that
Yeah.
the present is the present. And while the past has informed the present, something that I do, and I think this can lend itself to any of the things that you just shared, is I actually have what I call, like, my wealthy woman mindset work that I do. And as I do work on stepping into that version of myself, it's reminding myself, right? So I'll take a look at my bank accounts and I'll remind myself, like, here's what I have now. Because I can remember a time whenever I went without or when I didn't have, right? I think it's about grounding yourself into ways in which you're actually safe now. I remind myself, and this might not work for everyone because this is more of a spiritual thing, but, like, I remind myself of all the times that God has shown up for me in my life, right? And how I have made it through difficult things and how I was provided for during those things. But I think just grounding into present moment and where you are right now, what's your reality now, or how are you creating that reality now, can be really helpful because it helps to separate from, "I'm still in that past version of myself."
I think that's such a great point. I know I know when my nervous system was really dysregulated, getting into the present was very hard. Stayed stuck. Talk to me about this high functioning, this high performance woman that you work with and what shows up for her in her intimacy life.
Like, in her love life?
Yeah, because I think when there's like a lack of safety, it can
Mhm.
really affect not only our life, our business, but also our intimacy.
Absolutely. So much of the work your listeners are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, she's saying it again," but so much about it is being safe to be seen. And I think that the way that shows up in intimacy is, do you feel safe to allow someone else to really see who you are? And unfortunately, or fortunately, because I think it's a fortunate thing, is that I think first and foremost, with everything, with every area of our life, we have to feel safe seeing ourselves.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what I think that means is we have to be radically honest with ourselves about who we actually are and what we actually want, and tell the truth to ourselves first, and then we can tell the truth to other people, right?
Yeah, that is so true. I think that's such a profound statement that you just made. I know one of the things I see a lot of people struggle with is that self worth. They're so highly educated, so many different certifications, and yet that self worth is just not there. What are some ways that you can boost self worth? I know we're talking about reprogramming, rewiring, subconscious, but to fill up that daily cup, what are some strategies?
Yeah, I think that it's gonna sound like sometimes the things don't have to be so convoluted or difficult. Sometimes it can just be simple things. And I think sometimes it is just taking like a daily stock of, what did I do well today?
Yeah.
What do I like about myself today in this moment? And that might change a couple minutes from now, but in this moment, what do I really like or love about myself? Again, it calls us back to the present moment. And I find that some people really struggle with that. It's like they need to expand their window of tolerance for being able to say, there is a part of me. There, maybe you don't love all of you, and that's okay, but there's probably a part of you. There's something. And even if it's in relationships, sometimes it starts in relationship to others. I work with a lot of moms, so sometimes I say, "What do you think that your daughter would say about you?" And sometimes it starts there. "Oh, my daughter told me the other day that they love this, that, and the other, or they wanted to be just like me in this way," or something like that, right? And that can start the chain reaction of being like, "Okay, could that potentially be true, what they're saying?" Right?
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
think my daughter once made me a jar full of little things that she loved about me. So
Mhm.
every day I could open a different message. It was the
My
cute it
gosh.
was one of the best. I always ask for gifts, which are like letters from my kids, because I feel like those letters just fill me up in a complete way. And whenever I'm feeling a little down, I'll go back to those letters.
Right. Absolutely. And so I would encourage everyone, something I do with my clients is I have them keep a what I call a proof jar or a proof notebook. And that is anytime you get like a little thank you from a client or something where someone has complimented you on something that you've done, it's proof, right? There's tangible, practical proof there
Yeah,
that
totally.
you are an amazing human being, right?
I love that. I used to, in my office, have all different testimonials printed out right in front,
I
and
know.
it was, like, such a great way to fill up the cup and just feel positive because it does take a lot of bandwidth to show up in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
What do you do to boost your bandwidth? Because I know you show up in a great way. A lot of vulnerable posts, a lot of really in-depth posts. What are the ways that you fill your cup?
Yeah, so I alluded to it a little bit earlier, which is I have a pretty solid morning routine. I really pour into myself. I'm doing this new thing that I'm loving, which is we all have this addiction to our phones and it can be the first thing that we see. So I
Yeah.
don't set an alarm on my phone. I set my alarm on an iPad that's away. I have to get up. I put my phone in a completely different room in the morning and I just spend
Wow.
time. I listen to podcasts on my iPad and then I spend some wealthy woman time just like journaling, doing gratitude in the future, really anchoring into who I am, how I wanna show up, reviewing my calendar, giving gratitude for the things that are on my calendar. It's a lot of that kind of daily practice, and also I have a great support system. So my partner is amazing. I can fall apart and be a mess behind the scenes, and that helps me be able to just be a human rather than feeling like I need to put on a mask. And I do my own therapy and I do my own coaching. I think I have myself supported. I have my support, I have my partner's support, and then I have external support of people who help me.
I love that. I think we all need a team of cheerleaders
Absolutely.
and people that we can be ourselves with and that we don't have to wear a mask. I know that for a long time, I would wear the mask on what I thought you needed. It was
Right.
that like caretaking, wanting to just be perfect for each different person. And it's really freeing when you can take that off.
Absolutely. We all
Do you
need
work,
that.
do you work with people that have chronic health issues?
I'm trying to think. I worked with one person who had some chronic health issues because so much of what I do is there's often if the doctors have ruled out so much out in someone's life,
Yeah.
often what I found is that there can be an emotional component to the physical.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? So I guess this would be chronic, which is I worked with someone who was constipated for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
And we had 2 sessions together, back to normal. The doctors were just
Wow.
telling her they kept saying, "We don't really know what's going on," or "Just take this and that and the other," and, like, nothing cleared it up. And, yeah, after 2 sessions together, she was back to how she was 18 years prior. It can be really impactful to look at those chronic health issues from, like, an emotional standpoint.
How many sessions is average for somebody to come to you?
I would say I always recommend 3 sessions, and that is really more like 3 rounds because there's 3 hypnotherapy sessions, but there's before and after care kind of work
Yeah.
that props up the hypnotherapy sessions. So typically someone's getting 3, 6, 9, like 9 to 12 actual sessions with me
Got it.
with 3 hypnotherapy sessions.
Wow, I think that's beautiful. I'm so happy that you do the work that you do because I feel like all the things that we talked about, people really struggle with
Yeah,
and they stay stuck. And especially as I think health coaches building their business or whether you're up leveling, it's like it requires so much of us to be that face of our brand. It
it's
also requires us to charge appropriately so that we can make this a business and not a hobby. And also believe in ourselves and believe in the products that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love the work that I do, and I think that we're finally getting to the space in the online space, in the coaching space, where it's less about the strategy. Strategy is a part of it. I don't wanna take away from that. But if you've bounced around and you're looking for strategy, and you're still running into the same blocks, I think that's when it's time to say, could there be something deeper? Could there be something, a subconscious block or something emotional that's underlying why I can't make this
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think I mean, for everyone, we're different, but what would you say on average the biggest things are for people that stop them?
I would say there's visibility issues, as we've talked about. I think that there's money and sales blocks. There's a lot of guilt that comes up around being a
Yeah.
healer, helper, and actually charging for that work. I think that there can be fear of failure, fear of success,
Yeah. Oh my
being
God.
rejected and judged, and all of that, the perfectionism and procrastination really gets tied into a lot of that. So those are probably the biggest things, and as you said, the worthy and deserving of
Yeah.
good things, worthy and deserving of charging brings up a lot of things. So everybody's different, but those are probably the most common that I see.
I love your tips that you gave because they're real tangible ones. I know I need to work on my morning routine. It's something that I used to do really well in the last few years, gotten a little like icky. It's not as great as it could be because
Right,
I love having that time in the morning to really like channel who I need to be in that day and have
right.
time to think. I used to get up quite early and I don't put an alarm anymore. So
Right.
I wake up but I think I need to tweak that, especially after this conversation.
Yeah. 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 I find it so helpful to pour into yourself first, especially
Yeah.
as like service providers, coaches. We are our product or our service in some ways.
Yeah.
And so we're telling other people to pour into themselves and to take care of themselves. So we don't need to do it perfectly, right? Because
Yeah.
that can also stop people from ever moving forward. But there is a part of it where we do need to be caring for ourselves as much as we're caring for everybody else.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I also heard from you is support. It's like you really need to get the support, whether it's hiring a coach, therapist, your loved ones, your friends, peers. You need those kind of people in your life to really remind you of how amazing you are.
Absolutely. Yes, people to mirror back to you on the days because we all have them
Yeah.
where we go super low and we feel like this is it. Like I'm a terrible human, burning it all down. But like people to mirror back to you. My partner is so good at this, just like reminding me like, "Hey, do you remember like when you dreamed of having the business that you have now?
Yeah.
Wow, you've done so much." So it's so helpful to have people who can mirror that back to you.
Can you tell everyone where to find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at the Alley Rose. On Facebook, I'm Alley Rose, or on the Facebook bar, it's the Alley Rose as well. Or people can go to my website, thealleyrose.co, and I have a free subconscious business block quiz that people can take. You also get a
Oh,
blueprint.
love a quiz.
Yeah, you also get a blueprint with that, and just find some other ways to connect with me. My podcast is there, my website is there, so that's probably the best place.
Do you think we missed anything in this conversation that you feel we needed to talk about?
So, I guess the biggest thing would be we can be really hard on ourselves. We can be our biggest critics, and especially as business owners who want to move things forward. And when we find ourselves not being able to move that forward, we can be really hard on ourselves and down on ourselves. And so, the two words that I want to leave people with is curiosity and compassion. Curiosity for asking yourself what else could be going on. Is it actually that I am a failure as a human and I can't move this forward? Or is there the possibility and potential that there's some part of me that I'm not aware of that's protecting me? If that is a possibility, how do you cultivate compassion for that part of you that is trying to keep you safe, even if it's outdated, even if it's running on old scripts? When we develop compassion for those parts of us that are trying to keep us safe in some way, which looks like holding us back, but really it's about safety and security, we can start to work with them rather than against them. So, having curiosity and having deep compassion for yourself and the parts of yourself that are just trying to protect you.
I love that so much. I think that's a beautiful way to end.
Yeah, love
So
it.
thank you, Allie, for being here. Guys, make sure you follow this woman. As you can see from today's conversation, she has such a in-depth understanding of where you're at. And if you do need a coach, I would definitely suggest it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I love this conversation.
All right, guys, stay tuned. I'll see you next week.
All right, guys, that is all for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the show so you don't miss any future episodes. While you're there, it would mean the world to me if you take just a few seconds and leave me an honest review. Truth is, I love honesty. Your reviews help me to reach even more health coaches and wellness professionals who are ready to explode their business and want the truth in this non-BS approach. You can find all the links and the information mentioned in this episode at www.rachelafeldman.com/podcast. All right, so don't forget to tag me on Instagram at Rachel A. Feldman and let me know what was your favorite part of the episode. This will help me to create even better content for you, bring on awesome peeps to tell you the truth about how they built their business, plus other speakers to help you take your business to the top without overwhelm. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys soon.